You suck. One of the greatest insults, yet eye-opening phrases of our time. But the phrase itself obtains a negative connotation. If a friend pulled up and yells, "You suck," right in your face, you feel dumbfounded and hurt. Because when we hear this, it is interpreted as an insult that can demotivate us into achieving something greater or simply improving in life. However, what if I told you that this phrase does the opposite? That it is simply our perspective that needs changing. In this day and age, everything operates electronically. Two-factor authorization and boom, you've hacked into your Addus bank account. My electronics have enabled me one thing. Besides the impeccable advancements we've made as a society and astonishing achievements such as AI girlfriends and customer service bots, we've lacked one thing in particular: honesty. We lack honesty when we write in our Instagram bios. We lack honesty when we fail a class and still say to ourselves, "I'm still smart." We lack honesty when we craft a work resume and apply to colleges. We lack honesty when we catfish to total strangers on dating apps. So what happened to this once deemed quality that was preached in preschools all over the nation, that not only builds trust amongst the relationships, but also within oneself? Let me explain. The base of all learning stems from honesty, remaining true to oneself. Otherwise, it is the ego that stands in the way. Stands in the way of achieving something greater, a better understanding, a step in the right direction. Apprehension of material means you've not only understood the material, but you've allowed yourself to acknowledge your knowledge gaps to make room for this new information. Your brain accepts this new material through your approval. Your approval means confrontation. Your approval means you shoving aside your ego and focusing on what you actually know instead of what you think you do. However, modern society has normalized this type of, say, egotistical thinking. Call it delusional. The word, first discovered around the 1870s, was used to describe the cognitive illness delusional disorder, in which patients create and believe false realities despite true evidence of these scenarios ever existing in real life. Now, I hope this is not the case for you. However, when we blatantly ignore and deny the obvious, we fall down the sense of rabbit holes of what ifs and what nots, preventing us from ever taking action in the first place. It is these hallucinations that lead us to create fantasies and leave us craving them even more. Because that is your preferred reality. You would rather live an easygoing and perfect life than the one that you live in now. Take myself, for example. Now, I'm not the perfect student in the slightest. Once I dreamed of achieving the diligent high school standard, a dream of getting into Yale and other ambitious goals. And now, I'm not saying that I couldn't achieve these aspirations. However, Given my starting point and the actions that I had taken to advance myself in the college admissions process, it wasn't looking like I was going to become the next Steve Jobs, per se. Nor was I ever. I mean, the man himself never imagined the amount of success he'd garner when creating Apple. But what distinguishes himself and makes himself the Steve Jobs that we know today is his ultimate upbringing. Despite tragically passing away at the age of 56, Steve Jobs created a multi-billion-dollar company still raising sales today. And it all began during the 70s with his friend, Steve Wozniak. The duo built blue boxes of phone figures made to make free calls around the country. However, they soon ditched this job for their newfound interest in making and selling computer kits. And while Steve Wozniak was mainly in charge of the manufacturing and the building and jobs and sales, the duo, per se, used each other to help strengthen each other's weaknesses. It was ultimately Jobs' acknowledgement of his own weaknesses and knowledge and understanding that helped him acknowledge his flaws and know where to go, how to change the scope of technology forever. He now goes down as one of the most innovative figures of our nation. Now, I'm not here to compare his success to yours, but I am simply here to teach you one particular thing: how he grew to success. How he worked with tears above and beyond his own capabilities to learn how to manage a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. A true intellect that continued to strive for more knowledgeable ways on how to better the scope of technology forever. His brutal honesty. Now, maybe not with the world. Maybe not when he introduced his prototypes to billions of investors. Maybe not when he marketed his products to billions of consumers like ourselves. But within himself. Now, let's discuss the latter route and its negative effects. What would happen if you were to, say, lie to yourself? It's these daydreams and imaginations that can end up fueling our drives to push, to strive, to try. Because if you can access all of your desires and treasures within the blink of an eye, shoot, I would do it too. But how must we evolve as a human race if we cannot endure the sacrifices and downs of life? The endless tears we shed after we fail an exam. The jealousy we feel when we see our friends succeed and we don't. The turmoils and conflicts that we experience on a daily basis end up building our character. Surely, Steve Jobs and billions of others like yourself have hit unseemingly huge roadblocks on the way to garnering success. But it is up to oneself on whether they take this knowledge, understand it, learn from it, and flourish into a new being, or blatantly ignore and deny the obvious and stagnate their potential. And so what I am here to say is all we have to do is accept. All we have to do is being honest with ourselves. And so the greatest factor to success must be honesty. Imagine if you didn't study for that exam back in January. Would you have gotten those results? It wasn't because you simply felt like those grades were to be gifted to you, but because you personally sacrificed your beloved, valued, treasured time just to get to your desired results. And so the moral of the story being that imagining the perfect fantasy might be good in your dreams. But if you're presented with the expectations of modern society, what are you gonna do? Lie to yourself? Run away, I presume. You must be joking. And so, what are your 2025 goals this year? Is it to lift weights and start going to the gym? Is it to finally break out of your single shell and start dating? Well, whatever it is, you cannot do it without honesty. Because it is honesty that brings reflection, brings revelation, brings all your desired changes. Honesty is the key to improvement and change. Honesty is the key to life. So, I'm not gonna sit here and say that you suck. Because you're right, I'm not gonna hold you. But instead of resenting this phrase, let us cherish it and love it. Because it is the truth that will craft a true path of self-discovery and change in your lives. Thank you.